Welcome to Claris Talk AI. I am Matt Navar. At the EngageU FileMaker conference in Malmo, Sweden, I recorded several short interviews, and please enjoy this one. All right, I'm here with Joey Grimaldi of ODI Technology. Hello, sir.
Hello.
So you and I have known each other, we determined, I think, since we were both in our 20s.
Yeah.
30-some years now.
Long time.
Yeah. So, but I don't really know anything about you now. Let's see. I want to talk about your hosting company, kind of how that started, and kind of what your strategy is of kind of being quiet but great, and also a little bit about AI, like how that comes into play for your life, and what the impact that's going to be on actually hosting, for example.
Sure. So to start off with the hosting company, like how we came about, we were started in 1998. We were one of the first hosting companies on the scene. It was us and basically Digital Forest, who's no longer around. As far as the hosting company goes, we've gone through so many changes following FileMaker, as FileMaker's grown and so forth. And it's so interesting having the Linux cycle come full circle.
Oh yeah. You were talking like FileMaker 5.5 Linux.
Yes.
Yeah, and then
I think we were like one of the only licenses.
Yeah. When did they, just to refresh my memory, switch to Linux? Back to Linux for server. What version?
Technically 18, but it really wasn't. In my opinion, it wasn't rock solid until 19.
Okay. So a few years ago now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I couldn't switch fast enough from Windows.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I we obviously hosted in Windows because of the enterprise level hardware.
Yeah.
But for managing the Linux software, being comfortable in the Linux environment.
Yeah. Reliability, speed, footprint,
all the above.
All the above. Yeah. I didn't switch to it because I wasn't as comfortable with Linux as I am with Windows, and I don't like Windows, but it's much more desktop-y than the Mac. So
sure,
not than the Mac. It's desktop-y.
It's just only
somewhat like the Mac, so I can I was able to learn it and get by. Yeah, and you have a ton of clients. Your hosting plans start pretty reasonably.
Yeah,
$5 a month, I heard.
Yeah. In fact, we were just having this conversation about we used to do shared hosting for the smaller companies, which I really am sad that went away with the multi-tenancy, but I understand it. So now everybody is getting on a dedicated server. They start at $69 a month.
Okay. But multi-tenancy, let's not let that one go.
Yes.
Came up yesterday in the keynote.
I know.
I don't really know what that's going to mean, but the word multi-tenancy was used again.
I know.
I think it was talking about like some fairly far future thing with FileMaker server, but we'll see.
They were talking in terms of multi-tenancy. They were talking in terms of scalability.
Yes.
And how to have one server serving many clients to have the multi-tenancy in order to have the scalability. That's really where that went in with Studio.
I don't know if it's like Studio probably.
Connect Studio.
Yeah. So not like Docker and FileMaker server or something like that.
Nope. That's totally different.
So you guys do your own hardware, right? You don't have,
correct.
You don't resell AWS like a lot of other hosting companies.
No. Yeah, and that's one of the things that kind of differentiates us from other hosting companies is that we maintain and support all of our own hardware. The hardware is actually purpose-built for FileMaker.
What kind of machines? I'm guessing probably not big GPUs.
No.
CPUs? Okay.
No. So a lot of we do virtualization. The virtualization that we stand up, we do dedicated services. So all of the RAM and of course the hard drive and everything is dedicated towards that particular instance. And then we have nodes and clusters, so we have failover and everything's enterprise level.
Yeah.
As far as physical hardware, is that what you're asking? Like what brand?
Well, I just am curious, because it's so outside of my usual area.
For those people who know Supermicro, it's kind of an industry standard.
Okay.
It's all enterprise level hardware, so you're talking
everything.
Multiple NICs, multiple power supplies. It's just enterprise level stuff. So if a node goes down, for instance, if your instance is hosted on a node and that node happens to go down, it will then reboot on another node.
And all SyQuest drives for storage?
Yes. It's all SCSI.
I hope a few people get that joke, but that's
really, in fact, we're rolling out NVMe drives right now.
Oh.
Which is it's insanely fast. So So as we kind of get through our hardware, we're migrating our hardware out to all NVMe.
So that's oh yeah, it's like the more of a RAM style. It's like
Yep.
the super next generation of.
So SSD was like our big. SSD was a huge jump for us in performance, and now we're going to the NVMe.
Is it actually like a totally different idea than SSD?
No, it's very similar. I think it's much faster as far as performance, and for databases, obviously, that's really where the bottleneck is. The bottleneck is in the disk I/O. Yeah. So the NVMe makes a huge difference. We can also do block storage now. So if we wanted to take an NVMe drive and attach it to an instance, we can do that. And so for some people like to have the OS and the data partitions all separated out.
Yeah, it's less of a big deal with Linux. I think it's the best practice for Windows, but yeah.
Yeah. We can also do virtual private clouds now for people. So we do that with doing VPNs, for instance, for HIPAA compliancy for hospitals and that kind of thing. So we'll stand up a site-to-site VPN for those people so that they can access their FileMaker database and other resources if they need to do like remote desktop. We can do. I know a lot of people.
That was actually my question. If you do like Citrix or remote desktop type.
That's mainly on a case-by-case basis. Yeah. So we don't do that. We don't kind of advertise that, I guess.
It's a real specific type of a FileMaker thing, right? Like a really big application that's mature, that it would take a fortune to retool the application for when performance.
Yeah.
And
a lot
it's
of
just
people
much easier to.
Yep.
So AI.
In fact, Simulate. I don't know if you want to name people, but we just stood that up for them, and not even. It's kind of interesting. This is something that we don't host per se, but their Sage accounting software. We put that in the cloud, in their own private cloud, along with their FileMaker server, and did the site-to-site connection with their own private cloud. Okay. So now that we can integrate FileMaker on the same network as the Sage accounting software. So,
So, like for FileMaker developer developing AI with API calls, that might not really have much of an impact. It's sort of at a different layer than he is a hosting company. But what are you getting from customers about it? What's your plans?
As far as doing things with API calls?
Well, no. Like what are their requests you're getting for AI, and what are
AI. I thought you said API.
And then API calls to AI.
It's the FileMaker community. I'm really glad that this is happening because, like I always say to you, I come from a totally different background. So, from a computer science background, having programmed in Objective-C and others, coming into
Fortran,
FileMaker,
Pascal, all the modern languages,
all the really modern ones, COBOL. Having coming into this from that perspective, I tend to be an outsider, so to speak, with FileMaker. In fact, I was just speaking with another person who was here about wanting to do a session specifically on how everything is not a nail, right? When you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes, sometimes as FileMaker developers, if that's all we know, we kind of get trapped into that, where we want to make everything in FileMaker.
Weirdly, I think that's one of the exciting things about AI, because the cases for it are so attractive to do, and also so easy to implement.
Right. And that's really where FileMaker shines, because FileMaker is really a Swiss Army knife, and I think this AI push is really getting the developer community to think outside of FileMaker and start looking at resources outside of itself. Yeah. And that obviously happened with being able to make API calls from a script stack. That's really where all that started. But I think the AI is really pushing the developers in that direction more so now, which I think is fantastic.
So I guess one thing that occurred to me from seeing the stuff I've seen here is rather than using like OpenAI for semantic search and things like that, to spin up your own model on like a local server, which is kind of obvious. So if you have a FileMaker server, you could do a VPC kind of a thing. Yeah. But that's a total GPU type, very, very different type of a server. Are you getting requests like that?
Not so much now. Yeah. I think after, with Engage and this now EngageU being so focused on AI, I think we're going to start seeing that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah, I expect.
Yeah, they're and they're all again, with looking outside of FileMaker, there are a lot of services out there that you can stand up. You can stand up these models in a matter of minutes.
Pinecone, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Vector databases.
Yep. And you can choose, and a lot of it, in fact, is freely available. You just have to stand up a server to make calls to.
Right.
And do it.
So, but like a lot of people have privacy issues or other issues with using like OpenAI for stuff like that, or Pinecone, because you don't have control over everything. But if you have your server, like I get an open source model. I need a place to host it. You can't host it on your local computer. It has to be like where your FileMaker server is in your cloud. That's why I was thinking it would be kind of a natural offering.
It could be, but there are things that are out there. I'm thinking, what is it? The
Hugging Face?
Hugging Face, yeah.
So are there, I guess I don't know, I should know more about it, but are there places you can actually host that where there is no risk of anybody else having access to your data?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You can choose models. They have a whole library of models that's all community based, or you can make your own. You can supply it with the data set. You can make your own models. You can take models
but you still have to have a server to host it on. That's what I'm talking about.
No, but they do. You can do it
right
directly from that interface. You can basically say, build me a server. It'll build you a server within like 2 minutes.
Okay.
And then it'll also give you the API.
Got it.
It'll also give you the URL to make the API calls. And then from FileMaker, you just go do it.
Let me out with some of that.
Yeah.
I want to play with some of that.
I will. It's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And with some of those in the community, you can basically search. There's like over, I think there's over a billion now. Large language models there. So you can search all of these for whatever subject you want. And then you can find the ones, and they're all rated too. They're community rated. So you can look for one that you want, and then you can take that, and a lot of them will give you the data set that they use to make the model.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it'll give you a CSV file, and you can look at that data, or if it's images, they'll give you the images. You can look at that data set, and then you can add to that data set yourself, and then have it learn that new data set. So you're basically modifying.
So I think there's a few different approaches to that. Like basically, what is the source of truth?
Right.
Like Chris and I talk about a lot on the podcast, because you can't trust the model to be the source of truth. The model is the logic engine to get from the prompt to the truth.
Correct. Yeah. And keep in mind that you also have within that framework, you also have agents that you can bring in other ones as well. So. I think it's a really good way to do this, because you can take it, you can use it as a starting point, and then you can add your own data into it to basically refine those answers to make sure that you're getting correct.
Yeah. It's a brave new world, man. I'm loving this. Yeah.
I can't wait.
Thanks, Joey.
Yeah, thank you.